them was born a god. As far as we know, they both began life as relatively obscure and weak characters. They both discovered their sources of power out in the natural world. Gwyn discovered a mighty soul in the fires of the first flame, and Marika, in circumstances that were still somewhat uncertain, became the vessel of the Elden Ring. In both cases, these artifacts of power are held within their flesh, become an essential aspect of their very existence. They both used their newfound power to wage war on the rulers of the previous age, and then went on to found glorious new fantasy kingdoms among the rubble. And in both cases, these kingdoms were centered on a shining golden capital city built atop a sunlit towering plateau. In essence, they both reshaped the entire world according to their desires. For a time, they both ruled over a golden age, but eventually darkness began to appear. In Dark Souls, the first flame began to fade, while in Elden Ring, the Earth Tree began to gradually lose its splendor. And a lot of other things happened too, but what's important is that both kingdoms became aware of their own mortality, this simple, inevitable truth that nothing lasts forever. In the end, when we encounter these characters in the final battles of their respective games, both to be little more than broken husks of their formerly selves. And this is where their stories diverge. Gwyn was so desperate to preserve his age of life that he sacrificed himself to sustain it. He fed his own soul to the flame, giving it the power to persist at his expense. He cared more about seeing the world he had built than he cared about his own life. On the other hand, America shattered the Elden Ring. As a result, the lands between were thrown into a catastrophic civil war from which it has never recovered. Unlike her Dark Souls counterpart, America is very willing to destroy the Golden Order, everything she fought for, everything she built, if it means she can achieve something else. And we'll try to figure out exactly what that something else is later in this video. And there's another big difference between Gwyn and Marika, which is Radigan. There is no equivalent of Radigan in the Lord of Sunlight's story. As far as I can tell, Gwyn always knows exactly what he wants to do and how to get it. Whereas Marika has this split identity with contradictory motivations. She struggles with against herself as she does with external forces. But once again, we'll talk about her relationship with Radigan in much more detail later in this video. Another big difference is that Gwyn is not the only god in his setting. He was not the only being to discover a powerful soul in the fires of the first flame. He is shaping his world alongside the Witch of Izalith, Great Blood Nito, the Scaleless, and the Furtive Pygmy. Gwyn has to compete and negotiate with other powerful figures, whose motivations and goals sometimes contradict his own. For this reason, I think Marika is actually slightly more powerful than Gwyn, or at least wields something closer to total power. She has less to compete with, though that's not to say that she does not have any competition at all. The Karian royal family, the Horn Scent, the Cruel Fingers, the Outer Gods, and various other factions all challenge her authority at some
Elden
point
Ring.
or another. And yet another big difference between how Gwyn and Marika are portrayed in their respective games is that
It's not much to look at in any one moment, but it is a big game. Mm-hmm. I think there's a couple other games that have slightly better graphics. Technically, this game is just the scope and scale of it is just really crazy. It's hard for me to explain.
Yeah. You don't have.
I know. But yeah, this is the backstory for this one is written by George R. R. Martin, the Game of Thrones guy.
Yeah.
So the history of the game has a lot of really cool.
Oh, what was that?
Big crab.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, okay.
A regular enemy?
Yep. I mean, it only one of them spawns at each time through here, but yeah, basically. And put barriers to attacks down.
Nice. Nice job.
Yep.
Oh,
The Lord of Sunlight is never given a single line of dialogue. His character is never given the opportunity to explain his motivations or actions in his own words. In contrast, we get a ton of dialogue from Marika. We have so much more information about her character than we could ever dream of having about Gwen. Our player character's traveling partner is a woman named Melanie, the daughter of Queen Marika, and she has the ability to capture echoes of her mother's voice, to relate to us what she actually said to her companions at various locations throughout the game. So what we're going to do now is listen to all of those echoes together and figure out what the writers are trying to reveal about Marika's character in each one. I have tried to arrange these echoes in what I think is the correct chronological order. I believe the chronologically first echo is located in the first Church of Marika along the path to the Fork of the Giants. This is Marika in her conquest phase, relatively early in her rise to power, when she is still awaiting the Lions of Fire. As you listen, ask yourself, what is being revealed about her original motivations in this time? What she tried to accomplish at the beginning of her reign? Okay, here it is.
Silent, brave warriors, powerful, we command you, guidance, destiny to each one, to the place we stand. Put the giants to the sword, and forever letting the new epoch begin, an epoch glistening with life. Grant the Elden Ring, for the age of the Earth Tree.
There is a distinct note of hope and optimism in her words. Way back then, before her conquest was complete, she really believed she was forging a better world. The key line here is, let a new epoch begin, an epoch glistening with life. I think this is Marika's original motivation. She wants to create a world glistening with life, resplendent with life, where life has conquered death. She seems to have total faith in the possibility of the Erd Tree, that it can create something better for everyone. That is why she removes the Rune of Death from the Elden Ring, to remove death from her kingdom, to create a world where life, eternal and perfect, reigns supreme. However, there is an obvious contradiction here. In order to create that deathless, shining new age, she first has to slaughter all of the fire giants. Her new world will be built upon a foundation of violence, and as we will see in the Shadow of the Earth Tree expansion, this is not the only example of extreme violence she exercised during her rise to power. America probably thinks, oh well, a little violence to get things going, and then it can stop. Then we can all live in peace. But that's not how it works. The violence of the Golden Order will go on, and on. Despite all her apparent heroic optimism and idealism, her reign was marked by death before it ever even got started. The next echo we are going to listen to is at the base of the Grand Lift of Deadfist, the lift which leads up to the Altus Plateau. As you listen to the second echo, ask yourself, how has the tone of America's dialogue changed? Can you still hear those notes of optimism and hope? And if not, what have they been replaced with? Okay, here it is.
The Earth Tree governs the world. The choice is mine. Become one with the divine. All my best I simplify. To warn you about the fringes. The powerless
There has been a definite shift in America's character between optimism and idealism are now gone, replaced by authoritarianism and oppression. Instead of speaking about the glorious new epoch she is going to establish, she is commanding someone to either get in line or get the hell out, to either follow the rules of her golden order or wallow at her fringes. This is America's transformation into a tyrant. Her goal is no longer to create a better world, but to enforce the Golden Order's rigid laws. It's not clear who she is speaking to here. This echo is located in Yarnia, where the Tarnian family once ruled, enemies of the Golden Order who resisted at least two bloody invasions by America's armies. So just find out. Suspect she is speaking to the Garians, perhaps to their leader, Renala. If so, this dialogue is going to turn out to be a bit embarrassing, because for the first time ever, America's violence fails. She is unable to conquer these people. She will have to resort to diplomacy and marriage to bring the Garians into the Golden Order. Under the guise of her alter ego, Radigan, a red-haired male champion of her armies, she will marry Renala and actually father 3 children. But we'll talk more about Radigan another time. For now, let's examine the third echo. This one appears at the minor Erdtree Church outside of the royal gathering. As you listen, see, hear yet another change in her character. Okay, here it is.
I declare mine intent to search the depths of our soul. Through understanding of her way, our faith, our grace is increased. Those blissful early days of belief beneath our living hope have come and gone. What must have faltered?
America has abandoned the blind optimism of her early days and her total faith in the possibility of the Erdtree's new world. Perhaps even her belief in the massive good of the Golden Order herself has established. It is important to note that America has not been operating alone all this time. She has been working under the guidance of the Two Fingers, supposedly at the behest of the Greater Will, and other god related to the divine essence of order. In this dialogue, it is revealed that America has become a more curious character. She wants to delve into the secrets of that Golden Order in order to better understand it. At this point, it is possible that flaws have already begun to appear in her kingdom, that the Erdtree has already begun to dim, its blessings to diminish in power. These circumstances might be motivating her investigations. Whoever she is speaking to does not seem to agree with her. Her companions are faltered. They do not want to delve into these secrets. Once again, it is not clear exactly who she is speaking to, but I think it would make for a more compelling story if it was Radigan. If she was essentially having a debate with herself here. There's a part of America that wants to leave it alone, just remain in ignorance, wants to continue to believe in the perfection of the Golden Order. But there is another part of her that
My
must
mistress
know
sent
the
me off
truth,
on an
that
errand,
cannot help
but I
but
was
peer
accosted
behind the
by a
curtain.
ruffian, and now I'm in a bind. Could I ask you lend a hand? Perhaps. That thug made off with a precious necklace. I need someone to retrieve it. Only, he too is tarnished. If
It is
you've
even
any
less
qualms
certain what
confronting
she
your
found.
own,
I think the most
I shall
likely
find
possibility
another.
is that she discovered that the Two Fingers are
Oh,
fundamentally
thank you
flawed
dearly.
messengers,
What a
that their
blessing that
connection
we've
to the
met like
greater will
this.
is not
The
nearly as
thug should be
definitive
resting
as
at
it
an
is first
abandoned home
presented to
down the
be,
way.
that their Golden
Please,
Order is
I
perhaps
must have the
not as
necklace
sacred
back.
as everyone thought. But the
The thug should be
specifics don't
resting.
really matter. All that matters is that America must have found something she did not like, something that shook her faith. We know this because at the end of her story, she is the one who is going to destroy the foundations of that Golden Order. And what matters even more to this analysis is how the writers show us the way her character changes over time, from blindly faithful and optimistic to authoritarian, aggressive, and then to her faith beginning to waver. Next, we are going to listen to 2 more echoes back to back. These will show America in her scheming phase, when she begins setting in motion a convoluted, long, drawn-out plan, which will end with the collapse of the Age of Order and potentially her own death. So, here they are.
As each of thee realized, he will be truthful. He will be true and wonderful. We will live and then do it. Only if that person is king.
In that first echo, it seems as if America is acting as tyrant again. She is banishing Godfrey, her closest supporter and the leader of her army, the man who ruled beside her as Elden Lord. For no apparent reason, she is rewarding his loyalty and victory with banishment, exile, and death. Except not, because in the second echo, it is revealed that this is only part of Marika's plan. She intends to call Godfrey and his warriors home at some unspecified point in the future, and allow them to once again brandish the Elden Ring. So, what's going on here? It seems to me that Marika has a belief in the value of struggle, that adversity creates strength. She's not sending the Tarnished out to die as a punishment, but because she wants them to grow strong in the face of death. This is another change in character. Marika is the one who removed the rune of death from the Elden Ring. She is the one who created a deathless society. But now it appears that she has discovered that she made a mistake. A lack of death has rendered her kingdom stagnant and weak. But what does she need all these powerful warriors for? She has already conquered the entire lands between. What foe remains to be defeated? Well, that is revealed by examining the other pieces of her plan. First, there is smithing Master Hugh, the blacksmith who serves the Tarnished at the Round Table Hold. He states that he once promised Queen Marika that he would provide the Tarnished with a weapon powerful enough to slay a god. While we're on the topic of Hugh, we should also mention his relationship with Roderica, the Tarnished spirit tuner who he says reminds him of Marika, which I think reveals something interesting about the Queen's background. Roderica begins her story as a pretty pitiful character. She cannot defend herself, she is crestfallen, has lost all of her companions to Godric's horrific grafting experiments. She does not know what her purpose is in this world, but then she turns out to have this incredible talent for spirit, the ability to commune with and influence spirits. I suspect that in Roderica we are seeing a mirror of Marika's own backstory. Once upon a time, Marika too was a pitiful character who had lost everything, lost all of her companions, who felt like she had no purpose in life. But then she discovered her own talents, her own source of power. But we're getting off topic. There is only one god in the lands between, and that is Queen Marika, which means that she gave Hugh the task of crafting a weapon capable of killing her. And in the Tarnished, she has created an army of warriors with the strength to do it. It seems that the whole purpose of this convoluted scheme is for her to die. However, Marika is locked inside the Erd Tree. Even if a Tarnished was strong enough to kill her, they would be repelled by thorns, which is why we need Melina. As previously mentioned, Melina is the daughter of Queen Marika, and her mother gave her a single purpose, perhaps even created her specifically just to fulfill that one all-important purpose, which is to burn the Earth Tree. Melina is the kindling which will set the tree of life alight, and in doing so, burn the thorns away, allowing access to the interior. The Erd Tree is the center of Marika's civilization. According to her own laws, burning the Erd Tree is the most terrible of sins. The reason she slaughtered all the fire giants was to protect the Erd Tree from that very fate. And now Marika has set in motion a plan which requires its destruction.
Show me, and I'll consider putting
Aside
my in love with it.
everything she ever
You're a
was
shrewd
fond of,
first.
her most sacred beliefs, the source of her power, always. And why? Because she wants to die. That is why she needs someone to go unseal the Rune of Death, which explains why she supported Ronnie Newton. Okay, so Ronnie the Witch is one of the children of Radigan Nala. She was selected by the Two Fingers as an Empyrean, but chose to fight her own fate, to slay the Two Fingers and the Outer Gods instead. And to do that, she apparently needed to slay her own flesh. And to do that, she needed the Rune of Death, which Marika had sealed away inside her beastly half-brother, Pelican. And so the plot of the Night of the Black Knives was hatched, in which a group of Newmen helped Ronnie steal a shard of the Rune of Death, and used it to simultaneously slay her own flesh and Godwin's woman soul. The Newmen are a long-lived race who originated outside the land between. Marika herself is a member of that race, and all the
Decided to
women
play
who
all in one.
participated in the plot were her close associates, which suggests she was personally
Alright,
involved
things
in the
no dull,
murder of
bloody
her
hell.
own son, which was
Oh,
always very
oh.
perplexing. As we
Alright then,
have
alright,
seen,
could
she
be.
is a character who is willing to destroy literally
Oh, alright, well,
anything,
but it ain't
no
my fault
matter
she's
how
stupid
important,
enough to get
in order
chance.
to accomplish
Is
her
it, anyway?
goals. She will
Lucky she ain't
destroy the
died.
bird tree, the Elden Ring, the kingdom she built, and yes, her
Never
children
met someone with
too.
it,
I
mate. Couldn't
don't
make me
know
seen.
exactly why Marika was unable to release the Rune of Death on her own. It is possible that Malekith would have refused to give it to her. He's literally incapable of allowing his mistress to die, even if she wants to die. Whatever the reason, she needed someone else to do it, and Ronnie's plot just happened to be a convenient vehicle to get it done. I'm not sure that Marika even cares whether Ronnie succeeds in her larger plans. She just wants the Rune of Death to be released. Unfortunately, this plot did not succeed. At least not for Marika. Ronnie only stole a small shard of the Rune of Death, not nearly enough to actually kill a god, meaning that Marika had murdered her own son for basically no reason, driving her to the brink. And this is when she chose to do something even more drastic. I think it is very possible that destroying the Elden Ring was never a part of the original plan, that she only did so as a last resort. The next echo we are going to listen to seems to have been spoken immediately before she committed this final desperate act, and reveals her motivation for doing so. So here it is.
Oh, Ratigan, may you hold the golden one. Thou art yet to become me. Thou art yet to become a god. Let us be shattered, both neither of herself.
In this echo, Marika is speaking directly to Radigan, her other self. She reveals that he is in the process of seizing control of her body, of becoming her, of becoming a god, but that this process is not yet complete, and it will never be complete, because before that can happen, she will shatter them both. I believe that this scene from Elden Ring's first trailer takes place directly after this dialogue. In this scene, we can see Marika swing her hammer down onto the Elden Ring in order to shatter it, while Radigan desperately tries to take control of
The
her
thug
body
should be
and use
resting
the
at an
same hammer
abandoned
to
home
repair the
down the
Elden
way.
Ring, but he is
Please,
too late.
I must
The
have the
Elden Ring
necklace
is
back.
destroyed, and with it, so is their shared
Oh,
body.
yes.
Remember, Marika is
That
the
is my missing
vessel of the
necklace.
Elden Ring. It
Thank you
has
kindly.
become
Did
an
I forget?
essential part of her
I
very
see. You are
flesh.
very
If
but a
it is
steady
destroyed,
hand.
then so
Trees.
will she. Unfortunately, she
Braved
still
most.
cannot
You
die.
remember the
Without the
volcano?
Rune of Death, no matter how much
Oh,
damage
this
she
man with the
endures, she will
living
live
stead
on
at
as
the
a
base. He
broken
was
husk.
I have
But
faith. I
why?
do
Why
hope.
does she want to die so
Seek
badly?
at the base.
The
It was
answer
but
to
I have
that
faith and I
question
do
can be
hope.
found in an unexpected
Seek at
place.
the
It
base.
is
It was
Saint
but
Trina
I
who
have
can
faith and I
explain
do
to us
hope.
what's going on. Okay, so Saint Trina is the alter ego of Nicola, another of Marika's children, and another Empyrean. Nicola has concocted his own convoluted scheme, which involves him murdering his own brother, manipulating a bunch of other people, shedding his flesh, fate, and emotions, all in order to ascend to godhood, to usher in a new age of compassionate tyranny to replace Marika's age of oppressive order. As part of this scheme, he also sheds himself of Saint Trina, his beloved other half. Just like Marika and Radigan, these are two identities occupying the same body who appear to have a romantic relationship with each other. And just like Marika and Radigan, they have contradictory motivations. When our player character finds Saint Trina, or what's left of her, she begs us to kill Nicola before he can ascend to godhood. And we're going to listen to her dialogue together to understand why. Okay, here it is.
Ah, there you are. You claimed a great rune and had your audience with the two fingers. at the round table home. What was your impression?
In this dialogue, Saint
Your
Mary
intuition
declares that
serves you
total
well.
power is
My
not a
doubts
pleasant
had been
occupation. She
piling up.
suggests that
You
if
see,
Mikola did become a
the
god,
words
he
of
would
the two
not find
fingers
happiness.
cannot be
Instead,
trusted.
he would become
Truly,
trapped in a
naught
golden,
but
shining
rambling,
hell of his
senile
own creation,
delusions.
which would
I
persist
believe
forever
that
and
when the
ever,
Elden Ring was
stagnant,
shattered, the two
unchanging,
fingers were
and from which he
corrupted,
could never
their
escape.
guidance
Which, when you think
skewed.
about it, is
Even
exactly what
worse,
happened to
the
America. The
fingers
same thing is
harbor no
suggested by the
love for
description of her
power
source
kind.
here, which reads,
That's the
solemn
part that
duty
irks
weighs
the
upon the
most.
one beholding, not unlike a gnawing curse from which there is no deliverance. As we saw in her echoes, America was once a very optimistic and idealistic character. I think she really did want to build a better world. But that better world was founded on violence, on conquest, and bloodshed. She fought brutal, bloody wars against the Hornsent, the Fire Giants, the Carians, the rulers of Stormvale and Castle Morn, even against the stars. She enslaved the Omen, the Misbegotten, and the Albinorth, so her kingdom became filled with suffering. Many of her own children were born cursed. Mesmer was infested by an abyssal serpent and was eventually exiled
Oh,
to
I
the
have
realm
a
of
gift.
Shadow. The twins Morgoth and Moog
A
were born
means
as
for
omens.
Civet to
The
try,
creatures
and
were
if it be of
reviled by
high
the
hope,
Golden Order. Melania was born infected by an incurable rot that slowly mutilated her body. Nicola was born trapped in an eternal youth. As I discussed in my video on Mesmer, in fiction, cursed children are often symbolic of the sin of the parent. And America has committed a lot of sin. Some of them genocide, pillaging, slavery, the abandonment, banishment, imprisonment, and even murder of her offspring. It is interesting to note that none of Radigan's children by Ragala suffer from any of these same afflictions. There is something specific about America that is causing her children to be born deformed. And all of this violence, tragedy, and sin led her to a very dark emotional place. You see a demonstration of how miserable she eventually became. We are going to listen to one last echo. As you listen, notice how much emotional statement here it
Forsaken, wanting to sacrifice it.
In this echo, America is speaking directly to her children, and at first it seems somewhat positive. Go be whatever you want to be. A lord, a god, whatever. The world is your oyster, baby. Crack it open. But then there is a darker turn. If you fail, you will be forsaken. Nothing but a sacrifice. Her optimism and idealism with which she began her story are utterly vanished by this point in her life, replaced by a deep-rooted pessimism and cynicism. She is telling her own children to their faces, if you fail, you are going to die. And they do fail. And they are sacrificed by Marika herself. So the player character, the Tarnished, is guided by these shining rays of golden light, which lead us